Hi, I'm Evan. I run 4Runner 4Play. Today I'm going to be replacing the starter on my truck. It's gone out here for a second time. Actually, the ignition has been sticking, and my wife drove my truck the other day and the ignition stuck. She didn't realize it, and the starter was just going the entire time. She drove the truck, burn it out. You can smell it. It smells pretty bad, like an electrical fire's gone off in my engine. I thought I'd go ahead and record the process here to add to the blog about replacing it. So here we go. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect my negative cable. I've already loosened it here, so I can just pull it off. All right, so the next step is to actually take the starter off, and if you're looking down through the EFI, you can see it right down in there. The hard part about this is that there is a bolt that's in the back of the starter, and if you kind of look back behind the EFI, you can see it, and it's really hard to get to. My finger's kind of tapping it right there, and so this is the bolt that has to come out. So that is a 14mm socket wrench. And what works best on this is a 6-inch extender. The 3-inch is a little bit too short, and longer than that you start running into all sorts of wires and hoses down in there. And so then you just have to do what sockets do. Then I found once you get it pretty loose, it's actually easier to just stick your fingers down in there and screw it the rest of the way. The next step is to crawl underneath the truck. And you can see these are electrical connections to the starter. And so this one, just you gotta have to kind of pinch it and pull it out. It'll come right out. And then this one's got to get unscrewed here. All right, so this nut here is 13mm. All right, after you get your wire off here, there's one more bolt in the back right there. That's a 14mm. You reach back up through there and take that one off. Once you get that bolt off, your starters, it's just those two bolts. Your starter's ready to come off. And so you can see it kind of moves around. The bolt on top, the starter actually hangs on it, sits on it. So when you pull it out, you kind of have to pull it out and jimmy it. And then you want to be careful because of that metal plate in the back that hooks the slave cylinder, the clutch slave cylinder, to the bell housing. So you kind of have to maneuver the starter around it just a little bit. But then the starter should just pop right out of there, like so. And then just maneuver it out. Alright, so that's getting the starter out of there. So you can see the Toyota engineer geniuses, they put in a bolt up above the starter hole entry, and that bolt is your best friend, because when you put the starter in, it just rests on that bolt, so you don't have to hold it up in there while you try to bolt it on, and that makes things a lot easier. So you just need to maneuver the starter in through this hole, and then jimmy it up there so that it rests on that bolt. So I feel like the best way to maneuver to get this thing in position is to actually come from behind the wheel well. So you can see that my angle is a little bit different, but then that gives you open access to your two nuts, and you can helps you slide it around this back thing, and you can actually see when you're doing it the top nut a little bit better as you're sliding it in. So I'm set up behind the passenger side tire. So anyway, now that I have this in, my next step then is to I'm going to put on my nut here and here, and then screw on my bolt here. So I don't want to keep moving back and forth from the bottom of the truck to the top, so I'm just going to do it all from down here. So I'm just going to show how when I put this on, I don't put it on tight at first because I want to get on the top side and make sure that I'm kind of trying to put even pressure on it from the top and the bottom before it gets super tight. But while I'm down here, I'm going to grab this, and this just slides right in there like that. And then this piece also very simple. That just goes on there, and then I'm going to grab my nut and I'm going to hand tighten it as much as possible, and then I'll tighten it down the rest of the way with the ratchet. Alright, the last step is to stick that last nut on. Alright, so as you can see, the back of this nut is really hard to see. Again, you look over the back of the EFI, and I use my hand as much as possible to get that screw on there, and at least get it started, and then I tighten it down as much as possible with my hand, because it's just really hard to get the ratchet down there and try to see that bolt all at the same time. So once you get it on with your hand, then you can go ahead and put the ratchet on it. So as you can see, I got my ratchet back there. I'm just kind of going to town, a little bit out of a little bit. Maybe you have some more advanced tools, and so it's not quite as time consuming or tedious, but it'll eventually get itself back in there. Then you're screwing into the bell housing, so again, you want to get it tight, but you don't want to kill it at the same time, because you can strip out the aluminum. Alright, so now I've got the top tightened. I actually want to slide back underneath the truck and make sure that I also get the bottom as tight as I want it to be. And then we'll reattach our electricity. We should be good to go. Alright, I'm going to reattach my electricity here. Negative cable. I'm going to use my crescent wrench here to kind of tighten it down, and we should be good to go.